Gotta love when Durthu's Vanguard shenanigans leads him behind enemy lines. Today, Contrarian Codex going to be taking the Wood Elves against the foul forces of Nurgle, and we've got some Vanguards, so let's take a look at the builds very quick. 5 Nurglings up front, including the bubonic Frolickers. We've got some Chaos Warhounds with poison, of course, and some Chaos Furies as well on each flank. Then through the center, it's 3 Chaos Knights of Nurgle with lances and a Sorcerer Lord. We see already some of these Eternal Guard getting into combat here. Got some Eternal Guard up front. Second line is Blade Singers, 3 of them. Very good quality infantry, if a little light. We've got some Lost Sylvan Knights, Wild Riders with Shields, and Regiment of Renown Wild Riders with Shields. And then, of course, Durthu in the Vanguard. And with this one, you'll be sure to want to stay to the end because, yeah, wild finish for sure. But for now, we're going to get a very traditional Total War engagement playing out with the infantry in the center, cavalry and mobility on the flanks. And this is generally going to go in a few directions. Number one here, Wild Hunters of Kurnos on the far side get absolutely swarmed despite their elite nature. Likely to lose that fight here in the center. The Blade Singers just womp the Nurglings. And then this other flank here is going to be a little bit more of a mixed bag. Once again, we see the Lost Sylvan Knights getting soloed out here, kind of caught on their own. A very elite unit, definitely can stand against a lot, but the Furies in particular with their magic damage will be doing quite a bit of damage in here, mixed in with kind of the low-tier Hounds, which are wasting a lot of the elite attacks of the Sylvan Knights. It's a lot of value, but honestly probably not that far off equal value to the Sylvan Knights themselves, and will likely win that engagement. Same thing again over on this other side here. Wild Hunters punch pretty hard, but ultimately end up losing. So we see then Durthu kind of has to come to his infantry and begin to, like, kind of probably bring them towards this objective here and try and play off of that. This is Conquest, which means the loss of mobility for the Wood Elves definitely is going to not hurt them as much as it may otherwise would have. But you can definitely, I mean, I'm assuming, but it seems to me from the Nurgle build that they were expecting quite a bit more shooting from the Wood Elves. Not that they are mad about how this kind of counter-rush situation ultimately ends up playing out, at least for the time being. They've got just so much mobility here, and really the only infantry are the Nurglings. But the Chaos Knights, the Furies, everything else are able to win pretty decisively. And I guess the idea then was to go after the Archers, but given there are no Archers, and the Wood Elves went for a counter-rush build, yeah, the Blade Singers, like I said, they're going to move over to the objective there, and the rest are going to scatter. Say scatter. The Nurgle units are going to land home and try and finish off this engagement here. The few Blade Singers that got caught in this engagement, and they're trading okay. Eternal Guards, their armor piercing, trading decently well, all things considered. But it's just so much value, so much swarm, especially for those light, low armor units. And we see the Wood Elves completely cleaned up over on the far side. So yeah, just Durthu in the infantry. We're going to put a little bit of fast forward in this mid-game as both players kind of realign their formations here. Durthu and his remaining elves seize the objective. And critically, there is a kind of small patch of forest here that's going to somewhat affect this engagement. It's not going to have a massive, massive effect by any means, but Durthu throwing down some Flock of Doom here. Upgraded Flock of Doom, still one of the best spells in the game. Durthu being a powerhouse combat lord with access to that spell. It's just an absolute value pain train if you're on the enemy's side. And you see him kind of helping to push back the Knights here. You see a little bit of rancid visitations on behalf of the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle there. Going to do some decent single target damage to Durthu, no doubt. But yeah, you see the Nurglings kind of filtering in here. Honestly, not going to do much. Dual hand weapon, magic damage, Blade Singers, they're excellent stats. They can fight any of the Furies, Nurglings, Hounds, all of them count as infantry, right? Even against the Chaos Knights, as long as they're not taking like brutal open field charges, they're high attack and decent weapon strength. I mean, I say decent, 26 weapon strength, quite good. They will be able to get some damage on the Chaos Knights as well, especially considering their Lance Chaos Knights, a little bit lower melee defense, and the Sword and Board variant. But yeah, that attack mostly unsuccessful. You can see the Blade Singers still like half HP each. One Eternal Guard is taking some damage, and actually having the Eternal Guard here provide some charge resistance is pretty important. Obviously, the charge defense against large doesn't apply against, again, these infantry-sized targets like the Furies and the Hounds. But let's see. Rot Beast Caster is going to charge in. Oh, maybe not. Little Rancid Visitations there. Maybe trying to feint to draw Durthu out of position. Codex doesn't take the bait there, and instead is going to keep Durthu safe. We'll continue fast-forwarding here as Nurgle player rightly finishes off whatever isolated units he can. The Nurgle Sorcerer Lord's like trying to get some hits on Durthu, but Durthu, does he actually also have charge defense? He has expert charge defense, so he can just stand firm or counter charge if he wishes, but especially just standing firm negates the charge bonus of your enemy and just counter slaps you in the face with his massive amber sword over his 600 weapon strength. Not a great solution for the Sorcerer Lord here, but another Rancid Visitations, and he can deal damage at him, to Durthu rather, at a distance without having to risk himself in melee, but definitely is going to have to risk in melee at some point to wrest control of this objective, not to lose out on the conquest points. But Durthu, once again, overcasting on a massive overcast Flock of Doom, actually miscasting, I should say. He blows up a little bit there, maybe does some AoE damage on that, but also hurts himself. Only has about 3,000 HP at this point left, so Codex does have to be careful not to take too much unnecessary damage on Durthu at this point, but Forces of Nurgle, after backing away, are going to charge back in once more. Chaos Sorcerer Lord, unfortunately, hasn't been able to really get a good charge bonus. Might be taking some attacks from the Blade Singers here as well, which is definitely not ideal. But the big Durthu, hold the door Durthu, is going to continue slapping the ground here. And there's quite a bit of unit models left, but yeah, the Chaos Knights being so low on HP at this point are going to be very susceptible to terror routing. Once they're gone, these kind of lower tier demonic units are also going to struggle somewhat. The Blade Singers doing a decent job, all things considered. Yeah, despite them being so tired, they still got 43 melee defense. I guess exhaustion doesn't actually affect melee defense, but still, they are doing just fine in that way. A little Flock of Doom once more, DPSing and kind of finishing off these very tattered units. And the balance power not doing great right now for Wood Elves. It may be that just because Durthu is so low. And it is definitely possible that if the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is able to get out and get some good charges into the side of rear Durthu, he could get a couple of hits to try and finish off his health leadership and actually win here, but let's see. Right now, these Blade Singers, they are relentless. They've fought till the bitter end here. And maybe there's one more Rancid Visitations. I can't imagine there would be another one here, but at this point, but we'll watch the cinematics as the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord tries to get through the last of the Elves, making their final stand. And yeah, balance power definitely a little bit fraudulent at this point. But you see, does manage to get his charge in the side there. Attack animation does some damage, gets him to about 1340. Then Durthu himself, still 40 melee attack, despite his exhaustion. Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, because I think exhaustion does affect melee defense a little bit. Not as much as it does for melee attack, but yeah, the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord at this point basically heal cap, does get a couple of more hits on Durthu, gets him down below 1,000 HP. Oh man, it's going to be so close. Let's build some extra suspense here. Why don't we just take the health bars away and watch their final duel as he swings his Plague Blade against the Great Tree. Durthu is going to very anticlimactically disengage as this Nurgle Sorcerer Lord terror routes, and all of a sudden, from like nearly army losses, the Wood Elves were able to swing it all the way back around and claim victory. Yeah, it was quite a close one there at the end. I really thought that had the Chaos Sorcerer Lord got a little bit better RNG and actually been able to finish off, even just finishing off Durthu's leadership so that he could chase him down and actually kill him, I definitely would have put the dagger in the leadership of the remaining Wood Elves here. Blade Singers ended up performing quite well, though, in the counter rush. It was a relatively tall build and did have some issues getting swarmed. Definitely, all these cavalry just didn't pay for themselves. But ultimately, Durthu, almost 5,000 damage value on himself, 35,000 damage dealt. That's one of the crazier performances I've seen in recent memory. I mean, Durthu's such a powerhouse in that way, and in a situation like this where he can just continue feasting value, fighting alongside quality infantry in a favorable situation. And this is one thing about Nurgle is all this mobility counting as infantry does kind of lead to some odd interactions where, you know, your anti-infantry dual hand weapon units are actually probably the most dangerous thing to, like, Furies and Hounds generally. The Chaos Knights are able to come in and all get some pretty good value as well. I actually really like this build overall. Maybe I would swap out some of the Nurglings from Rotters, but hard to say. You know, the Vanguard definitely does kind of get you a little bit of a early sort of potentially catch your opponent on the back foot, apply some pressure right away, but it also could lead to these Nurglings getting blasted in the face by, like, Swift Shiver Shards or something in a different build. Definitely something to consider. But a fun one nonetheless. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.